Page 98 in your songbook. Today we're going to be talking about meditation and the mindfulness of the Bodhisattva around the matter of meditating. And the songbook is missing a line. I looked at it, and under lyrics and music, Rev Heng Sure, it should say adapted from the Shurangama Sutra, because this is the first word is one of those Sanskrit words, Sundarananda. You see Ananda is easy. Sundara is the name of a woman, and this is Sundari's Ananda. You put it together, it's Sundarananda. And of course, there's a story behind all that. But the point that I want to make is that in the Shurangama Sutra, Manjusri Bodhisattva is charged by the Buddha with finding the best way to get enlightened. Right? The Buddha says, what's the best way to wake up, Manjusri? You're the wise guy, you tell us. So Manjusri goes out and talks to 25 people who've done it, 25 sages who've gotten enlightened, right? Who've awakened, who've woken up. And he asks each one of them to tell their story. How did they, 正得圆通 in Chinese, how did they realize perfect understanding, perfect connection? And one by one, they all tell how they did it. And Sundarananda does it by contemplating his breath. All right? So this is his story. And let's look at the lyrics just for fun, so you can make this one your own. This is one of those songs that you kind of hum when you're walking along or driving along in the freeway. So Sundarananda tried to meditate, but he couldn't get it straight. He wasn't a good meditator. So he went to the Buddha to ask him how to concentrate. Okay? So these are instructions from the Buddha on meditation. He said, breathing in, breathing out, outside in, inside out. Buddha's mind, big and bright. Watch your breath and fill with light. So this is the Anapanasati Dharma method. Okay, Sundarananda says, my mind was scattered, too many outflows. The Buddha said, focus here, pointed to the tip of my nose, right here, okay? He said, focus on the whiteness, patiently, observe your breath, how it comes and goes. Now, what's the whiteness? Well, meditate and you'll see it. You'll find out that the Buddha was describing this phenomena that if you're using this method, you know, the Chinese say yen guan bi, bi guan kou, kou guan xin. The eyes contemplate the nose contemplates the mouth contemplates the mind. How does the mouth contemplate the mind? By reciting. So you focus, so as you focus on the tip of your nose while you're sitting there can be this phenomenon over time that you see this kind of slight white surround of your nose. All right? That's what the Buddha's saying. Observe your breath, how it comes out and goes in, comes out and goes in. Breathing in, breathing out, outside in, inside out. Buddha's mind, big and bright. Watch your breath and fill with light. Then the Buddha goes on and says, watch your breath. You will find it's like smoke, but then it refines, then it changes. Your breath turns white, then an inner light lights the world from your body and mind. So you go from focusing on the nose and the breath coming in and out to this whiteness, this smoke-like quality, and then there's this white light that fills both inside and outside. Breathing in, breathing out, outside in, inside out. So this is, one very short song-like version of a piece of the Shurangama Sutra, which is, I think it's kind of cool. So. Sundarananda tried to meditate, but he couldn't get it straight. So he asked the world-honored one to teach him how to concentrate. Breathing in, breathing out, outside in, inside out. Buddha's mind big and bright. Watch your breath and fill with light. Easy, huh? You can do it. Let's do that chorus. See if you can do it. Breathing in, breathing out, outside in, inside out. Buddha's mind big and bright. Watch your breath and fill with light. My mind was scattered, too many outflows. The Buddha pointed to the tip of my nose. Focus on the whiteness patiently. Observe your breath, how it comes and goes. Breathing in, breathing out, outside in, inside out. Buddha's mind big and bright. Watch your breath, fill with light. I'll get it there. Watch your breath, you will find, at first like smoke, then it refines. The breath turns white, then an inner light lights up the world from your body and mind. Breathing in, breathing out, outside in, inside out. Buddha's mind big and bright. Watch your breath, how it fills with light. Let's do that one more time. Breathing in, breathing out, outside in, inside out. Buddha's mind big and bright. Watch your breath and fill with light. Here we go. New song. Actually, it's not a new song. It's new to the songbook. But that song was written in Melbourne, Australia, at the Parliament of World's Religion in 2009. Who was there? From anybody from our group? Who was there? There was we took 30 people. I guess they've all graduated now. That was a certain class in the girls' school. Girls' school sent 10 girls. That was great. So I got a call from Father William Skudlaric, who was the Vatican's envoy to interfaith. And Father William is from Minnesota. And Father William said, hey, we're doing a program on meditation. We'd like you to come, but you got to bring a song. He said, you must have a meditation song, right? And I thought, a meditation song? We don't sing when we meditate. You know, I don't know about you Catholics, but we don't. So I said, well, we'll come up with one. I said, yes, we do, Father William. So David Rounds and I sat in our apartment and in one morning came up with that song. We had just launched the Shurangama, the new Shurangama with the box cover, you know. And so we just kind of flipped open the Shurangama and here was Sundarananda's story. So that's where that song came from. It was born out of a need for a meditation song at an interfaith gathering in Australia. How bizarre is that, huh? So, okay, announce again, folks who've just come up, photo today. Tina, Alice, everybody down below knows, right, about photo? 他们都知道要来拍照吗？知道啊。要合, there's a phrase. In Chinese, when you take a picture, it's 合个影, right? 合影. 合影. In what is it in Taiwan? we want a photo. 拍照. Different. Across the straits, Taiwan straits. How about 摄影? 也可以. So all these different ways of saying, yeah, interesting. Okay, could we please turn to page 11. Page 11. You're going to put your finger in page 11 and then open to the front cover again. We're going to do our sutra lecture. There's a formal way to start, which is you recite the Buddha's name 3 times, and then we do the verse for opening a sutra. Remember yesterday we talked about whole steps and half steps? So you go, Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. The third time, so you don't leave it hanging. Ready? Let's try it. Palms together, please. Anybody who would care to. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered even in 1,000,000 eons, but now we see it, hear it, and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. All right, page 11 there. We're going to first recite together a series of verses that are all about meditation. And what has happened, our model, our paradigm monk, our exemplar, has now left home. And his day has begun in the meditation hall. Interesting. So we're now with when entering the hall, second from the bottom. The bottom is when spreading out the sitting cloth, right? The next one up, when entering the hall. We ready? Let's do it together. Here we go. When entering the hall, I think, may all living beings enter the unsurpassed hall where they remain steadfast and calm. When spreading out the sitting cloth, I think, may all living beings open and unfold wholesome dharmas and see the right attributes. Turn to page 12. When sitting upright and proper, I think, may all living beings sit on the Bodhi seat, their minds not at all attached. When sitting in the full lotus posture, I think, may all living beings develop good root and achieve an unmoving state of calm. When cultivating samadhi, I think, may all living beings subdue their minds with samadhi, free of any residual flaws. When practicing contemplation, I think, may all living beings see things as they really are and never be argumentative and contentious. When uncrossing the legs for meditation, I think, may all living beings contemplate how all things that they do disperse and fade away. When putting down my legs, I think, may all living beings be liberated in their mind and rest peacefully, free of distraction. As I lift up my foot to walk, I think, may all living beings leave the sea of birth and death and be replete with wholesome dharmas. Good. Stop there. Good. Okay, there we go. Now, this is a series of mindfulness, right? Mindfulness is now a big word in popular culture around the world. It's really made its way deeply into corporate America. So mindful employees are much better employees. Mindful classrooms, right? Kids are learning meditation in school because it makes them better students, not only academically, but also better behaved. And it wakes something up to tell a child, we're going to sit together and watch our minds. Somehow everybody around the world is going, hey, that's great, I like that. Mindfulness that's one to watch. If you're a trend watcher, if you got your fingers on the pulse of the culture, watch that word mindfulness, what's happening. Because it definitely has its roots in Buddhism, but it has been taken by the greater culture, right? It's been appropriated by the world around us, and it will change. That's a real, I won't say it's American, it kind of arose spontaneously, but you might make the case that it started in the insight meditation community, the Vipassana community. A big part of it being the 10-day free 10-day retreats from the Goenka world, right, of Vipassana. So anyway, mindfulness. Here is mindfulness. If you want to go to the core of what mindfulness is, let's take a look at a Buddhist Bodhisattva in training who takes us into the meditation hall and opens a window in his head, her head, and is doing mindfulness meditation. Here it is. Grade A, number 1 sample. Okay, what does he do? When he enters the hall, that would be the Chan hall, we're sitting in one. The perfect Chan hall. If you want to know what a Chan hall is like, we have been, numerous occasions we've been to China to go into the Chan halls that have been there for, goodness, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Some of the main monasteries, pretty much all the main monasteries kept their Chan halls alive. And there's one in particular that has made it onto film, and it's the Chan hall of Zhenru Si, True Suchness Monastery on Yunjushan, cloud-dwelling mountain in Jiangxi province. And to get there, you go up and up and up and up and up. And it's everybody's idea of what a classical Chan monastery should be like. It just looks, it's sit into the mountain top. It's, the feng shui is just right. Master Empty Cloud spent his last years there. From age, 110 to 120, he was there. So, Zhenru Si hosted a young American filmmaker named Ted Berger, who took his camera into the Chan hall. And probably for the first time. I don't think there was any serious attempt to show the life of a Chan meditator before. And it's a wonderful film called One Mind. One Mind. And it's just been released. It's out there and available. It'll be showing up at a local, film festival near you, we hope. We're going to Europe in a couple months, and we're trying our best to get that movie to go with us to England and Poland. And there's all kinds of who knew? Making a film, you have to distribute the film, and distributors are crazy. Distributors, to get the film onto screens is twice as hard as making the film. Making the film's hard. Getting it in front of people, crazy bureaucracies and red tape and permissions and crazy stuff. Anyway, so One Mind is out there. If you see it, on some movie bill, film festival, definitely go look for One Mind. We hope that, ideally, once it's really released, we can get a copy and we'll be showing it. So anyway, the Chan Hall. We've been to see Chan halls. That film takes you inside one. And surprisingly, Chan halls are small, right? Jinchuan. That was always my reaction. We go to these monasteries, and the Chan halls are pretty much low ceilings, and they're empty rooms. The Buddha is in the middle, or Manjusri. It's often Manjusri with his sword, like that. His wisdom sword and maybe a flower. But he's just a single bodhisattva. Sometimes it's Weito bodhisattva. And there's benches surrounding it, and then a big space in the center for walking. And you live on the bench, right? You live on the, in a traditional Chan hall, the monks who go into the Chan hall are kind of the elite, because their job is to meditate. That's all they do. And the rest of the monastery is there to support this group of maybe 20, maybe 50 monks who are in the monastery, in the Chan hall, full time. They might go out for an afternoon on Sunday to mail a letter, to do some laundry, but they go right back in. And they live on those benches, sleep on those benches, meditate on the benches. The food is brought to them, or they go out to their own little dining room. And that's the Chan hall. So our monk has just entered the Chan hall, and he thinks, may all beings, like me, enter this Chan hall and stay steadfast and calm. And notice the movement. Again, every single one of these verses goes from me to living beings. From the personal to the social, or the universal, right? May all living beings. Why? The Bodhisattva's giving away the self. Huali, are you here? Are you cooking? Huali's cooking, huh? Huali had a comment yesterday about, the self. What is this thing? And the self is a way of looking. It's just a way of looking. And you can unlearn it, right? What do? You give it away. You give away the self. By what? By expanding it. What's the experience? I'm trapped inside here somehow. You guys are all outside me. I know I'm in here because I can hear myself, And I can feel it. That's inside. But, it's this elusive thing. How do you find the self? Well, I just kind of feel but I'm broken from all of you. I can't, myself stops with my skin, pretty much. But I notice all of you out there, are you having the same experience? And is this it? What is this thing? Let's go find somebody who knows about it. Oh, well, obviously, Sigmund Freud. Let's talk to Siggy. Herr Freud, Dr. Freud, what's the self? Oh, very good. The self is a complex. It is full of neurosis, full of psychosis, full of paranoia, full of schizophrenia. That's not a very good German accent, but that's an Austrian accent. No, it's just a bad German accent. So it's like, thank you, Sigmund Freud, Oh, let's talk to, Gustav Carl Jung. Okay, Professor Jung, what is the self? Very good. The self is archetypes. This is my Swiss accent. The Swiss accent is right on, right? Archetypes, we have the father, we have the trickster, we have the crone in there, and we got the shadow, and I just want to know what's going on inside me. Well, keep looking, you will find out. Do more meditation, says Carl Jung. He didn't really say that, but Jung wasn't far away, and in fact, he had a conversation with D.T. Suzuki. Apparently, they totally missed each other. It was not productive of much. It was too bad. Anyway, so Jung had books on Buddhist meditation by his bedside when he passed away. He said because just about everything he said and did was watched by his students. So he was looking east. Anyway, so Florence.
I'm curious, this word on the third line, unsurpassed hall,
Uh-huh.
what is it referring to?
Okay, what would be the unsurpassed hall? I suspect it's just another way of talking about the mind. It's a lot of this is metaphorical terms for things familiar to us. So Wu Shang Tang or Zui Sheng Tang is probably the mind. So anyway, here's the Bodhisattva dealing with the self by giving it away. You expand it. You say, may all living beings, and you mean it. May all of you, may all the invisible beings, the ancestors, the ghosts and spirits, may all the little bunny rabbits that ran under my trailer this morning, and the mice that were in the trailer overhead at night, all of them too, and their children and their children's children. That's a way of giving the self away, and it works. What does he do next? He makes his space. You bring your sitting cloth? Not here, but you brought it to Buddha Root Farm?
Bowing cloth. Yeah.
Bowing cloth. Did you bring yours? I didn't bring mine. Okay, so one of the three monks brought his bowing cloth. That's supposed to be closer to us than wings to a bird, they say. So I stopped carrying my bowing cloth unless I'm going to be giving the precepts or something like that. Then the Sangwe Bujia, then I get my bowing cloth. Otherwise, it stays in my monk's bag in my room. The Bodhisattva spreads out his sitting cloth and says, may all beings open and unfold wholesome dharmas. So the action that the Bodhisattva does in real life usually sparks a connected contemplation in his mind. We said these are prayers. You could also say they're just contemplations. He puts that thought in his mind. Now, from the Chan point of view, you could call it a false thought, right? He created it. We're trying to transform thoughts. Why give yourself a thought? Well, because it's a wholesome thought. And the more wholesome thoughts you pose, the fewer nasty, evil, greedy, angry, hateful, jealous thoughts there are, right? So contemplations work. You can, if you have a forest fire coming at you, you make a row, you make a line, you clear away the burnable stuff, and then you start a fire and push it towards the fire, and it puts the fire out. That's, you fight fire with fire, right? Not recommended, guys. Don't experiment. Don't say, well, he told me to do it up here. No, not in the forest in Oregon, please. So, but what does he do? He launches a wholesome thought towards the negative thoughts, which happen to everybody, even in the Chan hall. Okay, so the Bodhisattva gives these contemplations related to what he's doing. He's spreading out his cloth, and he says, may all beings spread out these wholesome dharmas, which would be what? Like kindness, like service, like generosity, like helping others. Turn over to page 12. Okay, now he, she is actually sitting. And notice, this is definitely seated meditation. One of the really interesting things about this gathering is Florence is sitting on a chair at the moment, and there's a reason for that. But and we have other chair sitters in the room. Everybody else sat on the floor right away. If this was a North American, Canadian gathering, there wouldn't be many floor sitters. Most everybody would expect a chair. Why? We don't sit on the floor. My Canadian relatives don't sit on the floor, right? Fab? Chairs, sofas, lounges, barca loungers, right? Not floor. Why would you sit on the floor? It's dirty down there, you know. It's cold down there. So we have the Thursday night East Bay Insight Meditation Community. They've changed their name from Spirit Rock East Bay. And what do? There's about 80, mostly entirely Caucasian folks who come in, a lot of them Jewish, and a lot of them psychotherapists, interestingly enough. And they come in and they look for chairs right away. There's a growing number who will sit on the floor, but most people sit on chairs. Okay, so that's fine, right? It doesn't suit this description. Notice our Buddha. This is a classic Buddha. He's sitting on the floor with his legs crossed, all right? So what's wrong with that? Well, it's going to be part of North American meditation, because Westerners are not used to sitting on the floor. You look at Japan, for example. Japan, tatami. Tatami, these woven bamboo grass mats. They're really, really nice. And you take your shoes off. You don't stomp into the tatami with your clodhoppers on. You know, you take your shoes off and you come up to a raised platform with this beautiful mat. Japan is a very elegant place. You know, they've figured out human bodies very well in Japan. And so when you're on the tatami, you don't want to stand up. You're already raised up off the floor. So in Japan, of course, zazen, right? You don't do chair sitting in a zendo. Very rarely. So right away, you know, if you came through Japan, for example, you were used to sitting on the floor. Master Hua was raised in Dongbei. Dongbei is cold, right? He doesn't even take his shoes off in the Buddha hall, right? Sure, I've seen all kinds of Westerners who are used to like Japanese style. They get to the door of the Buddha hall at CTDB and they look for the shoe rack, you know? But the Manchurian style was to come right in with your shoes. Because why? They're usually laced up. And you bow in one of those, right? So you're not on the floor, because the floor is, everybody's got their shoes on. Different cultures, different ways of doing it, right? So if your body is not used to bending and flexing on the floor, we say, When sitting in full lotus posture, I think, may all living beings develop solid good roots and achieve an unmoving state of calm. Let's say all of us become meditation teachers, okay? When you go back to your class, you guys, how many of your classmates will have done meditation? Some, but not many, right? You're going to be the new expert because you were up on Buddha Root Farm meditating. All right, so you become an expert and you say, all right, let's all sit. And you sit in full lotus and they all go for their chairs. What are you going to do? Don't sit in the chair, but my legs don't bend that way, they say. You know, what are you going to do? This is a challenge, you know. So I teach in Australia meditation every Sunday morning, and the local folks come from places like Mudjiraba and Murwillumbah. People from Murwillumbah come, all these wonderful indigenous names. And most of them go for chairs. If they sit on the floor, for sure their name is Lin and Chun and Lee and Wang and Win, right? They're Asian Australians. They're happy on the floor. But the European types want a chair. Is it right or wrong? What do you all think? What should we do?
It's okay.
What's that?
It's okay.
It's okay, just let them sit on the chair. Yeah, pretty much? Get out of that chair, sit on the floor, what's wrong with you?
Then you have Fab teach them yoga.
Have Fab teach them yoga.
The first step for the Westerners, they not learn the yoga, so the first step is yoga, and then they get to the floor.
Okay. Is there chair yoga?
There is chair yoga.
There is chair yoga. Okay. So
It's actually quite a vibrant debate right now in the yoga community about, getting people to do these yoga postures, including full lotus and half lotus, and Western bodies are just not used to it. Eastern bodies, when you grow up in India and you're squatting to go to the toilet, you're squatting to prepare your meals, you're squatting to do everything. Your hips are kind of naturally evolving as you grow. You're just naturally more open, right? And so, but us in the West, we sit on sofas and we slouch and we're not used to it. And so there's nothing magical from a yogic perspective about sitting, in lotus or half lotus. It's especially if it causes a great deal of pain and you're going to create injury for yourself. Even the most famous yogis like Iyengar, he lived until 96 or whatever, but he couldn't walk for the last 8 or 10 years of his life because he forced himself into these crazy postures. That's not well publicized, but he couldn't even walk up a set of stairs. So, he realized the error of his ways, and his teacher realized the error long before Iyengar did, and recommended that he doesn't go so hard into the postures and meditate more, and go into easier postures. So, from a yoga perspective, as yoga is evolving in the West, it's totally okay. It's like pay attention to your body and get comfortable. Use props. Like we got these cushions, use 2 or 3 cushions. And sit on the floor if you want to sit on the floor, but make sure that you're supported. Move a cushion under each knee. Find a way to sit so that you find that upright, being alert without tension and relaxed without dullness. And if being alert in a lotus pose means that you have to hold so much tension in your body, you're never going to be able to meditate properly. Because all you're going to be doing is trying to stay alert and trying to feel that tension constantly. So that's the yogic perspective.
there you go. I think that was a good recruitment speech for the yoga class, I think. People go, heck with this kung fu stuff. I'm going to go do yoga. Yes, question, comment.
Fab can say alert without tension and relaxed without what?
Without dullness.
Dullness. Okay. Now, here's what we saw Master Hua do. For him, Chan was done with your legs crossed, in full lotus, not half lotus, not no lotus, full lotus, right? And that was how we were taught. He was not interested in popularizing Chan. He was interested in giving us the model. What is the model? Sitting up here on the altar behind me. That's the model. And he would say, cross your legs, don't drop them. We're going to nail them in place. He said, suppose you die, so what? You died in full lotus. So, you better off. And he would say, well, just throw your body below the bench. Don't worry about it. We'll open the door in 7 days, no problem. And we were like, So, and we would, and just, it became this counting, okay, 10 seconds before I drop my leg. 5 seconds before I drop my leg, and then you just negotiate with the pain. If you can stay there, I'll give you a cookie later. And it became this, incredible dialogue with pain, and not to mention tension. I mean, it's like burning, roaring, blazing pain in your knees. That's tension. And then the bell would ring, and you go, where'd the pain go? If you read Marty Verhoeven, Hung Chao's journals from 3 Steps, 1 Bow, Marty was an athlete. He was a halfback in football, and he actually held the All-American sit-up record. He could do 1,300 consecutive sit-ups. He held it for a few years, and then a Marine broke it, 1,350 or something. Marty had big blocky muscles, halfback football muscles. And so for him, sitting in full lotus was like, and because he and I lived this far apart from each other in a car, so for at night, so I was very aware of how he was like struggling to sit in full lotus. My problem was not that. I could cross my legs since I was 14. My problem is nodding out. So he would be sitting there holding his full lotus like this, and I would be behind him going, bonk, and, huh! Quit that! What? Oh, I'm sorry. And then, donk, and I'd hit him, and he, Oh, God. What a joke. It was just a comedy. Anyway, so sitting in full lotus it's a question. It's a big question. It's a debate, right now. Yeah. Did I overcome? No, I wouldn't say so. It's, it depends. It has a lot to do with, number one, how tired you are. Number two, are you sleep deprived? Number three, what are you doing with your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind? Okay, it has a lot to do with the basics of meditation. If your 6 senses are gathered back, and you're not running out your eyes, running out your ears, running out your nose, tongue, body, and mind, cross your legs and you feel at home. You're home. This, we had one of our questions for discussion last year was about the idea of where do you feel most at home? And the other question was, is it a place? Is it on the earth, or is it anywhere where you cross your legs? And so when you feel that sense of, this is actually the center where I feel energetically a single piece, not scattered, then you can sustain it. But even then, especially in Chan sessions, the way we do them at City of 10,000 Buddhas, the traditional way, which is 60 minutes, 12 times, right, with 20-minute walks in between. And boy, about 2 p.m., after your lunch is barely digested and all your blood is down in your stomach digesting your lunch, and it's really easy to nod out. So that's still my challenge, right? Okay, how about you? Do you nod?
Yeah, a lot.
A lot. Okay, yeah. So stick with it. Now, what happens when Master Hua says, cross your legs? It got better. And nobody I know, I don't know anybody, say it another way, I don't know anybody who, if they practiced, Fab taught us the knee flossing, leg flossing, is it called, or knee flossing? Hip flossing, where you get your, you put the right pressure, the right stress on, that's probably not the right word to use. You put the right flex on your one knee at a time, and then you switch them. Those are full lotus exercises. Those are exercises that completely open up this experience. And we I used to do all the classes at Berkeley Monastery for a decade or 12 years. And every meditation class began with 20 minutes of stretching. And we did yoga. Actually, we did yoga asanas for stretching all the extensors and flexors so that when you sat, you were opened up. And as I say, I don't know anybody who determined to sit in full lotus with appropriate stretching who couldn't accomplish it. And now if I said, everybody sit in full lotus, some of us would be able to hold it for 30 seconds without it going, nope, that's enough, thank you, drop your leg. Some of us would go, great, At the Berkeley Monastery, we have a relationship with Piedmont Middle School. Somehow they picked us out. Piedmont Middle School is in Oakland. And they do a religious day, the sixth graders. Sixth graders are just great. And they go to the Jewish synagogue, they go to the Greek Orthodox Church, and they come to the Berkeley Monastery. And it's 300 kids, and they come 3 groups, 100 kids each. And sixth graders are really fun. They're hold on one second, don't lose your thought. Were you just doing that to me, or was that a question? That was a question, okay. I thought maybe you're, okay. So, these kids come in, and they're like, say, okay, everybody, cross your legs and meditate. And they're like, you're letting us do this? This is cool. Hey, look at you, look at you. And they're rolling around the floor. And you don't get to do that in the Greek Orthodox church. It's like this different, it's dark and cold. So we're meditating on the floor, and I say, let's see how we can do it. Let's everybody cross your legs in full lotus. And some of them are butterfly knees. Their knees are up like this. And usually about 1 out of 4 kids goes,
Wow.
this is kind of cool. I like this, And you never know who. Sometimes it's the athletes, the athletic kids. Other times it's the geeky kids. You're like, so what's the big deal? It's like, yeah, and you never know. Some people immediately can cross their legs like that. And so I attribute it to Shangan. I think it's good roots, some connections. So anyway, my experience is if you determine to sit in full lotus, you can. And there's a set of really good exercises that are mostly yoga style that are designed to loosen up here and loosen up here and get your, Then there's the basics of, we used to say a string from above, but I like the suction cup. Fab gave us a suction cup pulling your head up. It's like, get your head in the center. And so there are definitely ways that allow you to sit in full lotus. Why bother? What's the fuss? The fuss is that there are electrical chi meridians that when you can sit in full lotus, knit into another relationship with each other, and they transform. It's what full lotus does to the inner, you could say the alchemy of the body. That sitting in a chair with your feet on the floor, it's not the same thing. And I never say that to people sitting on the floor. Because that sounds like, exclusivity, somebody special, somebody, You sit on the chair, you're never going to become a Buddha, Wait a minute, may all living beings, wait a minute. May all living beings except those sitting in chairs, doesn't say that, so you can't really say that. So it's a debate, it's a question. And the reason why we don't know more about this is because we haven't had any European bodies realize the Tao yet. Nobody with a European body has, Zheng Tao yet. So what we're waiting for to realize the Tao, to wake up. We're waiting for somebody to accomplish that and then come back and tell us about that inner experience in terms we can understand. So I'm still being trained by Shifu to sit in full lotus and having this as the, but this is definitely came from a place where floor sitting was understood. and expect it. Right? You don't see sofas in the Avatamsaka Sutra, but why not? So, question, this generation, the Jin Chuan and Jin Hosher's generation, will be probably interpreting this in a new way. Let's see. Yes, Tuan.
Okay, so I was going to answer your questions about how to overcome dullness.
How to overcome dullness.
And one of my teachers suggested that you should meditate at least half an hour before lunch when you have an empty stomach, or 2 hours after lunch when your stomach is on the way of emptying itself out. So that way you are not contributing to the dullness factor. Like, for example, if I eat 1 hour after I eat, I usually doze off if I was in a lecture. No matter what, I would doze off. So I found out a tip about 2 hours after lunch, after a meal, or at least half an hour before lunch, very useful for putting the time and meditating.
Thank you for that. Yes, indeed, that is the case. Monks and nuns in our tradition eat once a day. And what that means is there's, maybe 20 hours a day when the energy is not here digesting. And it really, really helps the concentration when your energy is available and quiet. So that's one of the unspoken benefits of sitting. Chela.
I'm speaking on behalf of people who have butterfly legs for the past 20 years. I used to worry that I wasn't going to get a response, or it wasn't going to be like as deep as someone who could do the full lotus. And I did, and I do have full lotus envy. But
full lotus envy. There's a syndrome.
However, in this time, I've been learning to accept myself, and I think that it's a misconception from, like, I've had to let it go, and I said, when I meditate and I do, like, either I forgot what it's called, where you put one leg here, Burmese style.
Yeah, Burmese style, right. Mm-hmm.
I still, and it always comes down to me for sincerity and intent, because I'm sincere, and I do really try my best, and I can't hold it for long periods of time, but I have had amazing responses, and I've been able to transform some really incredible things, so I just kind of on the butterfly side, just say that
Yay.
I still have had really good responses in my little butterfly pose.
Let's hear it for the butterfly pose. No, right on. You really have to hear that. We really need to hear that it's, and because I was able to sit in full lotus like on my own in my bedroom at age 14 on the floor, like I just was drawn to it, and none of my buddies did. None of my friends got anywhere close to crossing their legs on the floor, and I never didn't tell anybody, didn't dare tell anybody. That would have been like, you what? What? So it was like, that wasn't an issue. And so, but I saw Master Hua, really, really, there wasn't an option. It was full lotus, sit there, endure the pain. And so that was how he wasn't politically correct. He wasn't user-friendly. He wasn't warm and fuzzy about this, It was like, so I can see easily how you would feel like, gee, I can't, there must be something wrong with me, or I'm probably going to get a lower grade enlightenment, My lotus is going to be really shriveled, shriveled lotus, it's not a big luxurious lotus, It's like, oh man. So that can't be right. That doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound compassionate. So working on this one. Yeah. I had a comment over here.
My question is, does it get better after like training? Does it get better? Is there hope? Or did it just get better at doing the pain?
It just hurts forever, Okay, if it didn't get better, Omar, how could Master Empty Cloud sit for like a week, a month, in full?
Somebody that doesn't care about pain anymore.
It's like, is he like some stoic monster who just like numbed himself to where? I can't speak for Master Empty Cloud, but I do know that there's something called the pain gate, G-A-T-E, the pain gate. And Master Hua would just encourage us to, he'd say, be patient till you make it through the pain gate. And no pain, no gain was kind of invented for meditators. And you need to, where does, this could be the topic for the retreat. We could do a whole week on the inner experience of meditation and its relationship to various poses of the body. We would have Fab teach a class, and and Master Hua would teach a class. So it's why we don't know yet. We don't know yet. Hold on to your thought there, Amitabha. Be right with you. So it's like we need more people. We need a bigger database. We need more people doing it and then reporting. So what's it like? My experience is that if you sit patiently, if you sit correctly, as your thoughts subside, the pain subsides. Interestingly enough, the pain in full lotus is related to your mind. If your mind is quiet, the pain is gone. Be right with you? Hold on there. Okay, so that sounds like totally what? But yes. You need to, there is a thing where there's all these, in the Chan world, if you do a Chan session and the teachers are experienced, all of these analogies will come up. They talk about like a garden hose that's got a kink in it, and and it hurts because the water's not flowing, but there's a pressure that builds up behind, when you've been watering the flowers and the hose kinks, right? And so if you sit there patiently, it unkinks, and then suddenly there's this, everything just connected. It's really comfortable. Okay, so Omar, if it didn't improve, where would those descriptions of the dhyanas come from, right? The li sheng xi le di, 那个定生喜乐地, li xi miao le di, she nian qing jing di, the 4 stages of dhyana. The number 1 stage is the stage where you leave behind all the kinds of pleasures that living beings know, and you get to another whole state of pleasure. Okay, that's the first one. They talk about that first dhyana as being this incredible blissful state, which is way better than any other sensation the body can experience. If it didn't get better, where would that come from? Okay, so I know we got a couple questions hot. I wanted to ask Jose just to say a word about full lotus. You want to describe, add some comments to this conversation? If not, that's fine. But
it's a difficult question because every person is different. But there is a risk in the full lotus, definitely, if it's not done correctly. So I know a couple of things. The pains are different. There is some pain that is kind of warm and kind of moves. That's okay. But then there is a pain that is almost like you feel the nerve that is very itchy, like a needle, and that's dangerous. So some people the pains are similar and they can have problems. But if you identify the pain, I think there is no problem. Everybody can sit in meditation comfortably.
You used yoga to get your legs in shape, right? Was there progress from now I can't do it, I'll do yoga, now I can do it?
Definitely, yes. There are some exercises that helping the hips. Some Westerners complain about the knees. The knees is not the problem. The knees is fine. The main problem is the hip. If the hip is open correctly, everybody in relatively short time can sit in full lotus. Definitely yoga helps a lot. Some stretching. But I wanted to emphasize this, that the pains are different. There are many kinds.
There's lots of pain. Lots of pain. Don't worry. Lots of pain. Don't worry. You'll
Pains are different. Some of them are okay, some of them it's better not to. If you feel pain just too much and you feel like it's the needle style kind of, you just drop your leg. No problem. And meditate with your mind, and that's the most important thing.
There you go. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, Leo's got his hand up. And let's see, we had Joanne over here.
How many kinds of pains are there?
How many kinds of pains are there? I'm sure there's a punchline to that joke, meaning, don't be a pain yourself. No, but, so, cuz, what's your thought about it? How many do you think? Like 6? Or like 1,000? Lots of pains, yeah. Well, we're talking about one particular kind, which is when you try to cross your legs and sit still. Now, you heard Jose, the last thing he said was, meditation is done in the mind. All right? That's important because why? Why is full lotus? It's also an expedient. Joanne, I know I said you next, but wait, let me comment here. It's an expedient way to get your inner chemistry lined up, your inner structure to line up. You know, there is, first of all, here's something. This is interesting. Buddhism is a very physical practice. The practice of Buddhism, once you start to purify your practices, your body's involved. That's a deal, you know. And when I was a practicing Methodist, we prayed, we bowed our heads, let us pray. We were called stiff-necked people. We didn't genuflect, we didn't bow, we bowed our heads, you know. And we put money in the plate as it came down. That was pretty much the yoga of Methodism, you know. Bow your heads in prayer and, you know, pass the plate. And it's all right. And singing. There was another one. This was one of the yogas of Methodism. It's beautiful. We have this hymnal, incredible songs. So, but that's it. The body's not involved at all. You know, you sit in the pew, that's it. When you come to Buddhism, Xing, you know, that word Xing is physical. You do stuff with your body. So you come to grips with your body. And so here we are. All of these practices are meant to make a transformation. What's the number one thing the body does? Leo, you're going to have to keep that one in mind, okay? Because I'm going to keep talking here for a while. One of the things that our body does is, beg your pardon, it dies on us. It dies. And it no longer holds the thing inside, whatever the thing inside is. The Buddha nature, this great spirit, the soul. The body quits at a certain point. And the Buddha, everything about the Buddha's project was addressed to that moment. Was when he didn't know he was going to die, and then he discovered he was going to die, and it like changed everything. And all of these practices are aimed at addressing the impermanence of the body. Okay? So yoga, you know, this is called, full lotus is called what? It's called the Vajra asana. It's a yoga pose. Full lotus is a yoga pose. It's an asana. It's a Vajra, the diamond asana. Because why? If you do it really well, your body doesn't decompose. There you go. It's like, that's one reason why you want to cross your legs, because something happens inside. There's a change. That's what Master Hua was pushing us to. He wasn't cruel. He wasn't there to make you hurt. Oh, does it hurt? I'm happy. Yeah, I'm glad it's hurting. You know, hurt more. That's not it. It was, if you can sit in full lotus, traditionally something happens. There's a shamanistic transformation that happens that he could do, right? And so I was just mentioning the other day that they just pulled up a lama from Buryatia, this place in Russia, where Buddhism, this tradition is practiced in Buryatia. It's this little border place in Russia, and they pulled a monk out of his. They buried him, and pulled him up. And 200. He was there for 100 years, and his skin is perfectly soft. Not 100, might have been 40 years, and he's, you know, by all accounts, he's just perfectly fine. He's been dead for 40 years, but his skin is supple and he's sitting upright. And, you know, he's like, how did that happen? Science goes, oh, you know, a mummy. And no, he accomplished his work in the way. 他的道业, his karma of the way was accomplished, and he transformed his body. It didn't decay. What's that about? That's another whole side of this that is pretty much not talked about, because if we're dealing with pain in our legs, we don't want to know about not dying. That's just too weird. I want to be mindful. So there's definitely beginning, middle, and advanced. Full lotus is a means to have this very impermanent, decaying, transforming thing change. And you can, right? It's still there. It's still alive. In this tradition is still alive. So that's an ultimate goal of Chan, is directing while you're still alive, addressing that moment of dying and seeing if you can do something about it. So the Buddha did. Okay, now, for the rest of us, who are still on the path, we're dealing with pain in the knees. So, okay, Joanne.
Well, thank you for saying what you're saying, because this is exactly what I would like to be doing right now.
Is addressing that impermanence of the body.
In addressing the impermanence and sitting in lotus and being able to get that energy to move. But I have to I don't know how to say this without worrying people.
Mm-hmm.
I have to second what Jose said, because when we were sitting with Sherpa down in the city of 10,000 Buddhas, he taught us how to get through the pain gate. And so sitting was just, after a while, it was wonderful. Once you got through the pain gate, you couldn't be happier doing anything else.
Right.
However, I was not aware of what was happening in my body as a result, and ended up having to have back surgery.
Back surgery. Related to your meditation.
The fact that there was something going on in my body I was not aware of, and I was just using my meditation to
Wow.
avoid the pain.
Okay, yeah. So the moral is common sense, or what?
The moral is, don't be so
Zealous.
so zealous that you forget that you have to take care of yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
And so what's hanging me up right now is that
The word zealous, zealous, meaning energetic and enthusiastic to the point of being like stupid, Yeah.
yeah, what's hanging me up right now is I'm 73.
73.
I have things going on in my body that are making it very difficult for me to sit. And so I go through this thing about, okay, am I going to heal myself by sitting, or am I going to make it worse?
Yeah, yeah. It's a debate. So we've got Fab's caution, and he has people come to him in all kinds of physical states, and he's, going to tell you what to do with your body, and you do well to listen to his experience. You have Master Hua, who said, we're doing Chan, cross your legs in full lotus, keeping the form. He's keeping the traditional form in the world. Now, Joanne brings her North American body to it. Okay, we bring our North American body to it. Jose has the experience of combining yoga and full lotus. So I want people to respect this debate, because this is a big, big deal that we get this right. Pip, how have you been sitting since the early days to now? Is it like changed, or?
Yeah, it took me 20 years to get into full lotus to where I could do it whenever I wanted to and for as long as I wanted to.
Oh, now listen, full stop. So that I could do it whenever I wanted to for as long as I wanted to. Wow. Eat your heart out. 20 years, okay? So
but there's a breakthrough. I think you get to a place, if you persist sincerely, you get through a breakthrough, and you deal with the pain. The pain is not overcoming your practice. That's my experience.
There you go. By golly. Can you hold on one second? Okay, Leo, you get one question.
Can you have 3 kinds of pain at once?
I know somebody who would probably say yes. Yeah, maybe more than 3, But, I mean, for example, here you go. Suppose, number one, you're hungry. That's a pain. Suppose you had a headache at the same time, and you were trying to sit in full lotus and your knees hurt. There you go. That's 3, right? That's the state of every Chan meditator for, hours of every day. Yeah, at least. Yes, sir, Drew.
I think, it's a very physical thing. So if you do like an intensive, like if you go to a Chan retreat, or you do a Vipassana retreat where you're meditating 12, 14 hours a day, you're working your body and your mind, and so you're going to break through that pain gate. So if you're doing it like an hour or 2 every day, it's going to take you much longer. But if you're doing it like 10 or 12 hours every day, like if you do a 10-day retreat, 7 days of pain, and then all of a sudden you feel like you can actually sit.
Or fly.
Yeah. So it's pretty much just putting your body in that posture and settling your mind. So if you give yourself the space and the time to do it, you'll break through that pain gate a lot sooner.
There you go. That's a voice of experience. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Yes. Okay. Sorry, Joy. Go for it.
In my personal experience, more recently during this sitting as well, I noticed that when the pain subsided was when I was just focused. As you said a bit ago, I just focused on breathing and the pain would just disappear for moments of time.
Okay. The testimony. Yes, ma'am. Is there a purpose of the preserved body, the Vajra body? Well, you mystify medical science, right? Medical science has no way to explain how that happened. Who was he? He was a monk. This happened in Taiwan not long ago. This monk who nobody paid any attention to. I've forgotten his name. This was already, I think, 20 years ago. The most recent one in Taiwan was a nun, and before that it was a monk. And he was just a everyday, ordinary, local neighborhood monk up on the hill, and they didn't see him for a week. And he usually would come down for rice and oil and salt and stuff. And they didn't see him. They went up to his hut, and there he was, sitting in full lotus. And they, let's see, I told it wrong. His disciple, he had a disciple who, when Shifu passed away, the disciple found instructions to put him in a vat, a big, like a pickle jar, and seal it up. And they did. And what's that? They pickled him? No, there was no pickles in the jar. No, it was an empty jar. It was I didn't say that right. So, an empty jar. Pickled, Shifu was pickled, So, funny, he doesn't smell like a pickle. So, and 3 years later, they opened the jar, and there he was, completely, and he became this, huge news in Taiwan for the Buddhist world because he was just such a nobody monk. Nobody ever paid attention to him. He was always just like kind of there but not there. What was he doing? All his senses were pulled back. He wasn't shining, he wasn't flashing, he wasn't showy, and yet he had the real thing. So that's the purpose of it. What is the Buddha? The Buddha is someone who took charge of the autonomic processes in his life. You don't take charge of your own death without, really overriding some of the obstacles. So the question is, how much of that pain is just an obstacle that can be resolved? How much of the pain is, you need to pay attention because you're harming yourself? Not that many people harm themselves through yoga. Fab?
I often remind my students that whether it's yoga or meditation, it is a practice, not a perfect. So you're never going to achieve perfection in just one sit. And just like Pip said, it took 20 years. Okay, so every day before we have lunch, we say that of the poisons of the mind, the most destructive one is greed. As medicine cures illness, and I take only what I need. Same thing with posture, same thing with full lotus. Take only what you need and realize that it is going to take practice and practice and practice and practice. And so yoga is more about self-acceptance than self-improvement. And so with each individual practice, it's about accepting, and then over time you start to just, as you accept your current boundaries, your boundaries shift by themselves. You don't have to force it. And we can be greedy about, forcing the change earlier than our bodies are ready for. So it's a bit of a negotiation.
Nice. Miriam.
I have a question on alchemy. Years ago, Shurmo is with the Wenwu School of Martial Arts. She had taught Qigong. It's Shifu was her husband who taught me Tai Chi. She's from that school. Years ago, she told me that for women, for some reason, she said for me to put my right leg on top of my
Left knee, thigh. Mm-hmm.
For women, and she never explained why.
Okay.
Or
Mm-hmm.
whether anybody has any ideas of what that meant.
Yeah, right.
I
Okay,
don't know.
that's one of the dharmas that kicks around Chan meditation halls, is that men do it one way, women do it the other way. And of course, people asked Master Hua that, and his answer was, 也可以, which is to say, yeah, you can do that if you want. It's no harm, but it's not a law. It's not a rule. There's a place where Taoism and Buddhism overlap. And then, of course, that opens up to traditional wisdom around the world. Okay? And the Taoist tradition pays a lot of attention to yin and yang. And they, really value those differences. I think Master Hua is fully steeped in the Taoist tradition, but goes deeper in the Buddhist tradition. Ultimately, what we're looking for is neither yin nor yang, and it is both yin and yang.
So it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. If you want to do it and you have that knowledge and practice, doesn't hurt. No harm done. So, and Jiang Shimu was, pretty much in the Taoist tradition. Jiang Shifu was New Buddhism, but he taught, Ba Gua, and he taught, Shaolin, and he taught, what was the other, Nei Gong. He had all these choices. So that's a method. It's a method. Okay, now, Leo, is that what you got? Give me your question.
Are the instructions still in Taiwan?
Say again?
Are the instructions still in Taiwan?
They are, but Taiwan and America are not very far apart anymore. So those instructions are right here on on Turtle Mountain and Buddha Root Farm. Yep, that's right. Jin Chuan.
I was just thinking about this idea of meditation, and in a way, if we're thinking of meditation as just sitting, I think in some ways that limits its scope. But if we think about it as this whole text, in many ways is a kind of meditation. It's a way that we cultivate throughout the day. And yeah, it's like a whole attitude of mind. And the sitting is a piece of that, but not, you could say, the end all be all. And so I think if we kind of expand our mind to say, okay, we maybe sit, but maybe a lot of people here, you experience, you can't maybe sit all the time. If you can do it by walking, like if you walk mindfully down the hill, you walk back up together, you're driving. I see a lot of people's actual real transformation comes from taking the practice throughout their day, and something inner transforms. The sitting helps for sure. I mean, I think if people you're really going to come and want to learn how to do it, there is a method for it, and if you force it, like Joanne was talking about, and I have similar experiences, you can end up hurting yourself. So you want to do it, I think, in a very thoughtful, not thoughtful, I would say a careful, common sense way, like how Fabrizio was discussing it. But there's a way that you slowly can do it so that your body is ready. But my sense is if we could open our minds to say, well, meditation is something we can do all the time, then it's much more accessible.
So that's right on, and that talks directly to Graciela's point. There is a moment where we're meditating in the Chan Hall and everybody's struggling with some version of stillness. The nice thing about full lotus is it's really balanced. It's geometrical, right? There's a triangle, there's a circle, there's a square, and it's earthy. Your body, your head is towards heaven, your You're rooted on the ground and you're serene, and you don't have to move once you get through that pain gate. And it's the stillness of the body that is the best part of full lotus. It's very, very hard to be quiet enough to catch your thoughts filtering into your mind, right? That's the advanced. If you look at something like Nagarjuna, you know, he was a great meditator, and they talk about, you know, seeing these thoughts rise. Vipassana talks about you contemplate thoughts as they rise, and if you're still moving, you won't see them. And the thing about, you know, I remember how hard it was when I was 14 to be still for more than 3 minutes. I didn't want to be still. I wanted to, there's too much to do, too much interesting stuff out there, you know. But sitting still, you want to get your body into a posture where you don't have to wiggle. Then you can catch your mind. And that's the point. So, you know, butterfly, full lotus, you know, envy, butterfly sitters, is like, if you can be still, that's the point. That's really the point. And then it's time to move. And if you don't have to stop meditating when you're in motion, oh boy. Master Hua gave myself and Marty the challenge of making movement and stillness one. Dong, Jing, Yi, Ru. He said that's the way to be. If you can make so that you're bowing all the time, and in your bowing you're quiet, you got it. You know, of course, we never got halfway there. So false thinking when you're bowing and in pain when you're meditating. You know, it's like got the worst of both. So these are practices that go a lifetime and maybe lifetimes until they're, you know, you get it to where, gee whiz, what's the big fuss? Why are you so hung up on full lotus? You know, like, why not just be in samadhi all the time? So anyway, it is Jinchuan Shure's point about this being meditation, not full lotus, and meditation is not limited to any single posture. The full lotus is very intense. And if you think about Buddhism as a, quote, religion, having this big emphasis on body, it's a very embodied faith, right? You're in there sitting with your body, you're walking with your body, you're eating mindfully with your body. What I like about Buddhism is it's like, here are instructions for taking your faith on the road. Right here, you know. And it even goes and tells you how the model, the Bodhisattva, is thinking on the road. How neat is that? You know, such detail. Wow, given this situation, what am I doing here? I'm cultivating samadhi, and I'm thinking, may all beings subdue their minds with samadhi. That's when the pain's gone, when you've subdued your mind, free of residual flaws. When I'm practicing contemplation, which is the guan of the samadhi, which is the zhi, right? Shamatha and vipassana. I think, may all beings see things as they really are and never argue about them. What's the argument? It's truth. That's the way it is. Don't fight about it, right? And then you uncross your legs and you think, may all beings contemplate how everything that we do disperses and falls away, including the fruits of meditation. All right? Put my legs down. I think, may all beings be liberated in their mind and rest peacefully, free from distraction. How lovely. Lifting up my foot to leave the hall, I think, may all beings leave the sea of birth and death and be replete with wholesome dharmas. That's one that gets into the morning for not stepping on insects, by the way. That's where that one, yeah. One of the 53 mantras. So, okay, that's the chunk on meditation. Boy, this was, talk about a discussion. We had voices waiting to be called on, you know, because why? We're all struggling with this, with our bodies and our minds, and trying to find out what it is about that the Buddha did that matters to me. If I had to sum up the discussion, it would be the middle way that avoids extremes. Joanne was describing one kind of extreme, you know, and the Buddha, think about the Buddha's experience in the woods for 6 years, trying everything. The Buddha hung from tree branches from his knees, upside down. That didn't work. He stood on one leg, you know, in the tree posture. Is that it, Fab? Yep. the tree posture. There's pictures of the Buddha following ascetic, yogis out in the forest. That didn't work. He tried sleeping on a bed of nails. That didn't get very far. He needed lots of Band-Aids. And he tried to fast himself, stop eating. That must be the answer, right? Because desire comes from food. So let's stop eating, stop desire. That didn't work. That was a dead end. It was an extreme. All those practices fell into extremes until he found the one that worked, which was, I'm going to stay under this tree, watching my mind until I understand it. The mind. Full lotus lets you be quiet. You can be really dinged. Ding is the word for samadhi. You can really ding when you cross your legs. You don't wobble. It's really stable. And it's the middle way. And then when it was time to eat, he went and ate. Food was brought to him, and he ate. And he didn't sleep on a bed of nails. He didn't hang upside down from his knees. He watched his mind. He said, that's the issue. So after days of that, 49 days of watching his mind, success. Okay? So full lotus is a tool. It's a means, not the end. Okay? Middle way. So, when the extremes are really graphic and really exciting to talk about, wow, that sounds so out there, extreme meditation, extreme sports, but it doesn't sustain. Pip talked about 20 years of sitting. You have to do something that you can sustain. Meditation is not for heroes. Meditation is for workers. Right? There's a bumper sticker. The way it's described here, you work at your meditation. Fab gave us the word practice, right? Purifying practices. There are no heroic meditators. They break. All right? Okay, it is 10 o'clock.